Business Programs webinar series. Good afternoon. Today, we will be hosting NavalX and doing an introduction of their program. I am Arvis Washington, the Department of Navy Small Business Programs Deputy Director, and we are located at the Washington Navy Yard as well as at the Pentagon. What we have for you today is NavalX, who provides innovative efforts created by Secretary Gertz and his team and how they are helping small business. Government agencies, local businesses, and universities connect and garner more opportunities to support the Department of Navy. As part of our webinar series, we will have some upcoming webinars next Tuesday. We will feature NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program, as well as next Thursday, kicking off our series with the Department of Navy Small Business Directors team, Mr. Chris Espenshade from NAVSUB, doing an introduction to NAVSUB and how it's protecting the Navy supply chain during the COVID-19. You can follow us on our social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All of these sites will have links to register for these webinars, as well as if you visit our website at secnav.navy.mil/small business, we will link videos that we've pre-recorded videos that we've done webinar series, as well as the slides and the questions and answers from each of our webinars. So if you weren't able to join one of the webinars live, you can always go back and view the recording. Our two speakers, dynamic speakers that we have today are Captain Frank Futcher, who is a career Navy supply officer and currently the director of NavalX. Prior to his assignment, he was the director and faculty lead for the Emerging Technologies Industry Study at the National Defense University at the Eisenhower School. And then we also have Ms. Whitney Tallarico. She is a support contractor for the Office of Naval Research, serving as ONR's liaison to NavalX. She also co-founded the NavalX Tech Bridge Initiative and serves as NavalX's Deputy Tech Bridge Director for all 12 tech bridges. So we are enthusiastic and happy to have them join us today. Questions and answers can be asked live during the event. We will answer questions, and what questions we don't get to, we will gather them and provide the responses on our website. So I will turn it over to Captain Futcher and Miss Whitney Tallarico.
Welcome. Awesome. Thank you. Two things real quick. We're just finishing up one brief. I'll make sure that Frank is getting in. He's saying he's having some trouble, so apologies there. And then my personal apology is that I am at the beach today. So if you have cars going in the background, it's because of my commitment to be here, not because, yeah.
Well, we're thankful that you're here. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Arvis. Let me see if, okay, so Frank is on his way. If you'd like, I don't mind getting started, Ash. I can actually start the brief for him
okay.
if need be. So if you want to show the slides, then I'll happily speak to them. And if not, I can just give some background.
Yes, can you start the background?
Absolutely. So NavalX is actually a pretty new organization. It was set up in February of last year by Hondo Gertz, and that's the Assistant Secretary of the Navy, for those who do not know. So the cool thing about this group is that we were actually stood up to do a better job at communicating and connecting with people inside and outside of the government. So industry and academia, we are looking at you. We are very much trying to figure out, how we can do a better job at partnering. And that's why we're here today. And that's kind of given us an opportunity to do things a little bit differently than other organizations who are stood up for just a specific technical area or otherwise. Next slide, please. Thanks, Ashley. And I'm watching Frank try to get in. I apologize that it's taking a minute, but Ashley, next slide, please. Thank you. So NavalX as a platform. So as I said, it's not set up like other organizations. It's really not hierarchical. It's really not something that's like an office in a corner. We're more of a platform. We provide a space for people to connect and to build networks with traditional people like our primes that we've worked with before. We're trying to find ways to connect with them on a different level, but also non-traditional partners like small businesses and academics and startup companies who have been trying to maybe get their technology in the government for a while and can't find a way, but also for those who might not know they want to work with the government because we make it so hard sometimes, a lot of the time. So a lot of what we do is listen and kind of connect people across the board to figure out if there's an opportunity to enable a deeper connection and actually get some projects going. So yeah, we bring in warfighter challenges and we try to find the right people to solve them, whether they're in our networks now or whether we need to look outside of them. And the whole intention is to really enable our own people to find the solutions they need internally, but also be able to outwardly find the talent and the technology that we need and accelerate that pace of actually transitioning those things to the warfighter and to the fleet. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I am the Deputy Tech Bridge Director, which is pretty fun. So we just went from 6 to 12 tech bridges in, let's see, maybe 3 weeks ago. These tech bridges are an initiative that was started in March of last year and has grown pretty quickly. The thing to know about tech bridges, we'll get to on the next slide, but if you look at the location, we kind of have the coast down. Midwest is involved, but the goal here is to provide more intersections and more locations for people to come in and have kind of that storefront facing way to start discussing, you know, what does the Department of the Navy need? What capabilities do you have? And for those of you who may have tried to get your technology on a base and said, hey, like, can we test this thing here? Or can I show you my program? Or can I give you a slide deck? It's really difficult to get on a base and it's really difficult to find the right people. So what you see there are locations, but really what is there is a team of people led by one tech bridge director who is super interested in knowing what you have available and who is able to kind of be that Sherpa, that knowledge owner who can help guide you through the process of, you know, introducing your technology and moving things forward. And Frank, I see that you're here. I apologize, I've started the brief without you, but we'll turn it back over to you in just a second. I'll keep going through tech bridges. Next slide, please. If you want, thanks. So as we said, low barrier facility so that people could come and meet up. So they don't all have these spaces yet. We don't mandate that people are 100% ready to go when they become a tech bridge, just that they have a team ready, leadership interests, and that they're interested and have some partners with industry and academia up front. So the goal is that we'll have a collaboration space where people can connect and exchange ideas and kind of create opportunities for discovery of technology, but also some tinkering, some development could be capable there. And our goal and our commitment to you guys is if we find some technology that's really valuable, either we can find a pathway and get you to the right contacts who can do real assessment of the technology, because there are a few people on our team who are technical experts, but our goal is really just to direct you to the right people. So none of us are going to be able to sign a check for you day one, but we can help you find the people that can get you either the opportunity you need or the feedback you need, because sometimes things aren't ready, but you won't know that because the system as it is doesn't really provide you a lot of feedback. So that's one of the things we try to help with, is not just connecting opportunities, but connecting you with people who can give you honest, genuine feedback. Yeah, I think that covers the rest. Next slide. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Next slide. And if that's the last slide, then I can just speak to an example and then turn it back over, or turn it over to Frank. Okay, perfect. So a few examples for you guys, and I don't think we need slides anymore, Ashley, thank you. A few examples for you guys might be that, so in Rhode Island, we have a Northeast Tech Bridge located there, and they have a really rich history and capability in composites, maritime composites, especially from boat building for years. So the Naval Undersea Warfare Center that's up there, it's a group of technologists who focus specifically on undersea technologies, whether it's autonomous vehicles or otherwise. And these people have been living next to each other for years, but there's no big conglomerate, there's no prime of composites right now, although there are some large industry members. But the group of people that was right in their backyard has the capability to solve some of the challenges that that exist in undersea environments today. And because of our partnership with other groups, and because we were able to kind of take the problem set from the Undersea Warfare Center and bring it to industry, we're able to give out $1.5 million. So $1.5 million was committed. I think there's still the second round of 750K hasn't gone out yet, but the first round was 3 different groups getting 250K to bring technology forward for undersea capabilities. So I'm assuming there are probably going to be some questions soon, but I'd rather turn it over real quick to Frank, who just joined us. But that's the overview in a nutshell, and here's Frank.
So before we get started, I do want to remind individuals that if you would like to ask some questions live during the event, we're happy to answer them as we go along. So I'll turn it over to you, Captain Pritchard.
Thank you. Thank you. I apologize for for me being late. I think we were cutting another event before this a little too close, and then my inability to quickly get onto Zoom. So, okay, for NavalX, Whitney, if I understand, you covered the Tech Bridges portion? Or did you cover the whole thing? That's what I'm just trying to make sure that I can.
I may have covered the whole thing, but I probably didn't do as good of a job as you could. So if you want to give any more background.
Like, I know we talk a lot about connecting with small businesses and non-traditionals, and one of the areas that we've been working on is creating a tool so that it isn't necessarily an email or, which is, we're trying to create what I would call an industry facing page. I mean, we have a website where, there's a lot of information and there's ways to connect with our tech bridges. There's information about our tech bridges. So that's a great resource. This other tool that I'm talking about is going to be on the Service Now platform. And once we have that out there, there will be an industry facing page. But the point of that is the ability of any small business or non-traditional, even academia, for example, to be able to connect with NavalX and be able to put their information in there. So you'll be able to put in your contact information, your phone number, your email, even, for example, like a one-pager or like some of the work that you're going, that you're working on. It could be your technology or whatever that might be. And the goal is when, as Whitney likely talked about, this ability of creating this collaborative network for the purposes of partnering on projects. So if you were to walk in the door, let's say you're based down in the Central Florida Tech Bridge and you're engaging in an event down there. But let's say your capability might serve a need at an under warfare center or a surface warfare center somewhere else in our network. The ability for that system to better and more quickly connect you into the right place is really what NavalX is about. So we're using these tools, we're using these events, and NavalX as sort of this matchmaker connector is really closing down the time and the space for you to find the right place as to where you might fit, meaning your capability, your technology, serving, let's say, the right requirements, fleet end users, or needs. And so that's the role that NavalX plays, and Whitney likely covered it, but we're not the researcher, we're not the scientist, engineer, we're not going to own the project. We're only really trying to help enable that, facilitate that whole entire process there. And then let's say you do get into the innovation pipeline and you might be an entity that's working with a tech bridge or a warfare center on a particular project. And as that project progresses, NavalX would probably be able to join in, to help, again, to see working with, let's say, a PEO or a program office, like what might be the next steps? What other tools or authorities might be available to continue if that's what they want to see continue. Like when I say continue, okay, let's say you've done a tech demo, the program offices is interested in continuing that. Maybe we move on to an OTA, and with the OTA, there's a prototype delivery. Maybe the next step is moving into an advanced technology exercise, this Antex event, where you can actually get the prototype demonstrated, or in a fleet exercise. So the goal of one of the goals of NavalX is to help facilitate, I would say, the transition and movement through the innovation pipeline. So again, moving at the speed of relevancy, which is our boss, Secretary Gertz, like to call it, moving at the speed of relevancy, meaning us is helping to connect, whether it's the program office or even the business, into the right kind of mechanism to sort of move that along. So that's the role that NavalX really plays in this ecosystem. And the other piece is, of course, continuing to establish the relationships and maintain these partnerships. That's very important to us. So I think after post-COVID-19, we have sort of our new space. It's right next to the old space in Alexandria, but we're going to have some more kickoff events. We used to hold some open houses. Our tech bridges will have events like that. And the whole purpose is to engage, to have and facilitate conversations and discussions about these kinds of things, and just get to know each other. Because, you know, you see I'm in the military, but I'm not wearing the uniform. We are very informal, you know, at all of our locations, again, for the whole purposes of facilitating conversation and discussion. So that's really what NavalX is about. And part of that is just lowering the barriers, you know, and that's, again, just making it a little more approachable as to who we are, so that you can walk in the front door.
So can I interject, sir? We have a question. We have a number of questions. First, there's concern, why should a company get involved with NavalX? Potentially taking your idea to NavalX and then they put it out to tender as an other transaction authority. So what's their encouragement for doing this, for coming to NavalX?
Yeah, the encouragement is that we're here to help speed the process up, meaning there are many potential program offices or organizations that might have a need for your particular product. So we'll have a better idea of all those different kinds of entities that will be out across that network, whether that's a warfare center who might have a particular interest in AI, or it could be a program office that's working, let's say, in artificial intelligence. And so part of that is we're just trying to facilitate the number of connection points across the network where that capability might match a need. So, you know, and I guess maybe the question is, maybe I sense that, hey, what are you going to do with the information that I provide you? And this is really just about sharing the information. It's not about, you know, I would say trying to use it in any way. And we wouldn't use anything that's even provided to us without permission anyway.
So we do have a question about points of contact. How do I reach that individual for specifically for NavalX that's maybe in my region? And what I would offer is that I turn you to secnav.navy.mil/agility, and you can view all NavalX events on their YouTube channel with searching for NavalX. So any contact information that you're looking for, visit secnav.navy.mil/agility. We also have another question. I'm sorry, go ahead, Whitney.
Oh, sorry. I was just getting excited. I was putting the email out, the information out there, and I'm also happy to provide my personal email as well, or my professional email. But I was going to get to the next question you're probably going to ask. So.
Yeah. So how are you interfacing with other small business programs, especially SBIR?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So I'm actually, another title is the O&R liaison to NavalX. So I work with the Office of Naval Research, who actually holds the SBIR program for the entire Department of the Navy, with Rich Carlin, who is in charge of that portfolio. And Bob Smith, the manager of that portfolio, is very much engaged, as is Kendra, the tech transfer lead. So we work with them extremely closely, as in I'm on both teams for one, but a really good example of how we've been working with the Small Business Innovation Research Grant is that we have listened to people who have gap issues that aren't traditionally kind of responded to by syscoms, which system commands. It basically means that a lot of people put in problems for SBIR topics every year or 3 times a year, but sometimes certain people's voices don't get heard. So one of the things that we do is we look for different end users with different problem sets, like from shipyards and otherwise, and we bring them in. And not only do we create topics on those, but our tech bridges host industry days to kind of discuss those. And we also have an SBIR coordinator at each, well, soon to be at each location. Some of them have them now, but I know Shadi Azum is on here right now, so I'm going to shout out. We have people on our team at NavalX who are SBIR experts. So as you reach out to one of us, you get the entire team's experience. So if you have questions about SBIR or otherwise, you are going to the right place. If you connect with one of your regional people and they can't answer a question, just ask for us. I'm Whitney, that's Frank. We'll make sure you get to Shadi or some of the people who know what you need.
Thank you, Whitney. So can you talk a little bit about AFWorks and what things is it that we're doing here within NavalX as far as will we be holding any challenges for larger issues?
Yes, well, 2 things. We partner with AFWorks, and we've actually joined them on the Joint Open Cyber topic earlier this year. So we've done that. The other piece is we partner with AFWorks just to share, I would say, methods and innovation and tools and ideas. So we partner at more of that strategic level is how we do that. But as the real question then is the prize challenges. And so NavalX is really a platform for whether that's a PEO or whether that's an entity like ONR to run a particular prize challenge through. And that could be done at any number of our Tech Bridges locations. And so, you know, that is something that we're moving towards. NavalX is still new. We were officially announced in February of 2019. You know, as Whitney likely described, our Tech Bridges, our first 5 were announced in September last year, another 6 here last month. So we have 12 now. So when I say new, we're still, what I would say, ramping up to where you see the number and the frequency of things like a prize challenge, or maybe a tech demo day, or like SoftWorks has Tech Tuesdays, for example. Like, so that is where we're moving towards to be able to do that, but we're still in the process of what I would say standing up some aspects of both NavalX and Tech Bridges, and then connecting with the PEOs and other entities who have the requirement and then the funding to say, hey, I have a prize challenge. And Whitney, I don't know if you want to go into, as we stand up the Tech Bridges, we do have various pilot projects and efforts to sort of, I would say, kickstart that. And some of those have come up and a few have already started.
Yeah, I think everything you said is right. I mean, the only thing I would add would be that we have been partnering with AFWorks, but it's been pretty ad hoc so far. I think there's certain regions where people are getting a little closer with their local representatives from AFWorks, and we see that as a strength. One of the things we don't want is a lot of top-down initiatives. That's, while we have a lot of top cover from the Assistant Secretary of the Navy and the Chief of Naval Research, what we don't want to do is say, hey, let's all work together up here. So we've been actually trying to incorporate our partnership earlier in the process by having open discussions about what's going well in SBIRs or what's going well with their challenges, and trying to learn from each other in terms of lessons learned into our own programs, but also slowly developing how we can start, integrating and combining forces a little bit more often. So, all those things. Thanks.
So you talked a little earlier about the number of tech bridges there are across the country. Are there specific swim lanes for each tech bridge? How do we know which one do we go to, or we just go to the one that's closest to our geographical location?
Great question. So yes, yes, you can do both. So they do have technical foci. I can't be sure if the website has been updated. Where our goal is to get the technical lanes of expertise available on the website, I believe this week. Some of them have them in there and some of them don't. So sorry if you're looking at old version 1.0 of the website, but the truth is, if you go to one, they will be able to point you to somebody. We have 3 calls a week with our team, so we very much just pass things off as we see it's not in our swim lanes. But especially if you have a gap issue, something that touches a lot of different stuff, it really doesn't matter where you begin. We choose these people with a lot of, gravitas. Like the people that we put as directors, like they are, people who are open, who are collaborative, who really want to see you succeed. So I think whoever you go to, if it's in your region to make it easier, that's great. And if there is a technical focus, it should be on our website soon. If not, a lot of maritime ones are attached to the undersea warfare centers in the Northeast and Northwest. Orlando has a lot of training because it's part of the training and development group lab over there. And then we've got autonomy and modeling and simulation everywhere. There's a lot of different areas you can look at. So feel free to either do some background on the website. The website should at least have enough information to guide you in the right place. And worst case scenario, you just come straight to us and we'll help you find the right people.
So what advice do you have if I've been calling the individual that's on the website and I'm not getting a call back or not getting a response? What advice do you have for someone?
Frank, I'll say the first one just because I'm the worst. It might be me. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it could be. So if it's an email, I'm pretty horrible. And I ask people to give my phone number out as well. So LinkedIn is a good way too, but we've actually gotten a lot better. So what Frank is probably going to say is a lot better. We have a person assigned to manage our email who checks in to make sure that everything does get answered. At the beginning, it was definitely spotty, and I apologize if you were one of the early groups to reach out. We didn't really have a stream, and we were pretty tight team of maybe like 4 to 8 people that are central, and then our distributed team. But we've actually gotten to a better place now where we make sure everyone gets a response and that we're adding value to every exchange, even if it's to say, I don't know where you came up with this. We've shown a few people and we don't know what this is. So it's a scratch on a napkin, but we're at least getting better at responding to you quicker. So also LinkedIn and other ways, feel free to reach out there.
So we have another question. If I'm a small business, I have an innovative solution, but I don't know if it fits the Navy's need. I don't know what their needs are. Does NavalX have technical points of contact available to discuss Navy specific needs and use cases?
So we have connected companies like that to entities, and I can just give some examples where a company came to us, described, here is the capability, and it was just through our connections that we then linked them to not just one, but 5 or 6 or 7. Now, those don't always bear fruit because it may not be either early to need, there may not be an exact match. It may require some additional discovery, in terms of whatever the capability the company might be providing. But that's one of NavalX's role, is to help connect various entities into the right, I would say, requirements, offices, or end users that might be able to use that capability. Now, if it doesn't, like I said, when we have this new digital tool that's out, that information will reside in the system. Others will be able to search that system, and it'll be up to the company to be able to describe their capability, meaning what might be the right kinds of words when they enter that information in. So even if there's not an initial match, when we have that tool up, that match could occur later.
We have another question. So I'm a small business with an innovative capability. How do I know who I can partner with? Do you have some opportunities where you can partner with other large and small businesses? Do you do that collaboration to provide a complete solution in the Navy? And how can they connect with these programs at these bases?
Yes, I think that's part of the plan with our tech bridges, which, for example, a particular project might require at different times. I would say part of the technology or complete solution to be done, it could have been done by academia, it could be done partly by that small business. At some point, there could even be a larger business involved. But there's some examples, I think, when we talk dual use technologies, Whitney, where, up in, for example, the New England Tech Bridge, right? When you have, let's say, one particular company might be providing a 3D printing solution, another might be working on, let's say, the composite or the kinds of material that might be suitable for the undersea environment. And it's through this sort of collaboration on a project that you can get a complete solution, which might be, let's say, an unmanned vehicle with mostly 3D printed items that work with special composite materials that can withstand the salt water. And, Whitney, you might have additional examples related to that, but that's just one where this work on dual use solutions involve various partners in that regional ecosystem or even in the larger ecosystem to kind of move it forward.
Yeah, so I'll just add, so about technical points of contact, do we have them? Yes. So I'll say that the way that I operate is if I get an email with an attachment of a capability, what I do is I forward that capability. Thank you. I forward that capability to a person, to an SME from a warfare center or from the Office of Naval Research, but I do not put that, and I put the person on the email, but I BCC the folks that I want to be on there. And I do that because we're also trying to build trust in our network to say, hey, I don't know if this is a company that's been that you've talked to before. I don't know the landscape. You might already know the company. I'd probably say the first 10 meetings that I've held before, or files that I've sent on, someone said, I've actually talked to this person multiple times. And I guess they don't realize that that's not what we're looking for right now. So what I realized in that moment is that, number one, it's better to keep it so that we can have a private conversation, but then I can respond and say, hey, by the way, they're not interested at this time in this technology, but maybe there's another point of contact for you. So what I've heard, and if it's good, then obviously they can make the connection and we can work on that. And there's been a lot of success, but I'm focusing on the negative for a second, just so that you know that our goal is to get you a clear response quickly, not necessarily like if it's the right solution for the right problem, then yes, move it forward. But it's also like, if it's not going to go somewhere, to let you know sooner than later and give you that feedback.
Great, thank you. So what things is it that NavalX is doing to reach out beyond the traditional small business engagement groups, startup accelerators and the like? What things is it that are being done?
So we're actually connected through our partnership with the Office of Naval Research to multiple business growth accelerators. And also through our tech bridges with a lot of tinkerers or makers, and our events are not exclusive events. We invite people from industry, academia. We invite students. We have people come through all the time to learn more about opportunities. The group who has this down to a science is actually in Orlando, the NOC-TSD folks, the NAVAIR, what is it? Technology and training. Yeah, training, and yeah, I shouldn't speak about acronyms. I'm terrible with those. But you can look it up. NAWCT.
TSD, training simulation.
Thank
yes.
you.
Vision.
Great. So they have things down to a science. They actually partner with their other the other services, and they have these giant industry events multiple times a year to really just speak out about what challenges there are, to listen to industry. So I would say those events are a really good way to start getting involved. I don't think we don't have any solicitations going out personally, but we partner and help people get solicitations out. So I would say that's something you want to look at the tech bridges for, but also if you come to NavalX and say, hey, what's going on in this space, we're all a really tight team and we can push you in that direction. And in terms of outreach, we just keep our barriers as low as possible. I think that's the easiest way to answer that.
Thank you. So I know last year, our director at the time came over to NavalX and we developed a playbook. What things is it or initiatives that you have in place to engage with the individuals at the commands or even those small business directors?
So when you say a playbook for engaging with small business, or are you referring to our playbook initiative in general?
Playbook initiative in general. So we developed a small business program playbook early on at NavalX last year, early, I think, springtime frame. What things is it that NavalX is doing to engage with the small business professional community or the acquisition community at the individual buying commands?
Yeah, one of the things is our Naval Agility Summit that'll be coming up in September, where, and even our first Agility Summit last summer, where we had the Don Sibber Program Manager, the Office of Small Business Programs. We had a lot of different, what I would call, briefs that were related to engaging, with small businesses. Now that's where the playbook, I think, sort of started, with some of these ideas and how do you incorporate them in. But I think there's two questions here. One is a playbook, and then two is the engagement that NavalX has with the acquisition community, which is maybe the more general question. So one of the things that we are trying to bring forward to the acquisition community in general are what are some of the tools and authorities that are available to the acquisition community to better connect with small businesses and non-traditional. So, we've talked a lot about OTAs. The other is this partnership intermediary agreement, which is like an OTA, but there's means to also get tech demonstrations and do some tech scanning. And, so anyway, there are tools out there than your regular regular FAR-based contracts that are options to be able to connect with small business. So part of this is us trying to help build awareness in the acquisition community and across the different Don organizations of how they can do that. And, for Navy, this has been still sort of new in terms of how we use the OTAs to do that, maybe access prototypes. So that's kind of like the general answer as to what we're doing with the acquisition community. And is there, what was the first part of the question?
I'm sorry now that it's moved on, but looking at NavalX and how is that engagement? If I'm a small business professional working at Naval Sea Systems Command, how do I engage with NavalX or bring my small business community to learn more about NavalX?
Oh, yeah. So that's a great question. So we offer opportunities to just host like an event. Like for an example, it could be an informational event, and that small business office just can contact us via email. That could be direct, to me or to Whitney, but meaning the opportunity for us to then sit down with them, sort of understand the goals of what they're trying to achieve. And then we can examine, okay, what kind of things can we do, both in terms of maybe hosting some virtual panels like we're doing here, maybe some physical events at, whether it's at a TechBridge location or a NavalX location in Alexandria, meaning there's ways to sort of, okay, I have some small businesses and I want to bring in, let's say, different parts of the acquisition community to sort of connect them together. So I would say we offer a platform for those small business entity, officers and who are trying to achieve whatever their organization's goals are. We can help them achieve those goals.
Great, thank you. Budget. So what is the budget support for NavalX, and do you see this as a project that's going to be long-lived to reach its goal?
I do see it being long-lived. We are in the process of what I call formalizing and institutionalizing NavalX, which means we will be a part of the POM going forward in POM 22. These are always, new initiatives always have some level of risk. You need to establish your value, but then just as important, you need to exist in the POM and maybe have some permanency somewhere. And I think come later this year, we're going to have that to some degree. And I think right now our alignment with ONR and with directly with AS and RDA is really helping to solidify where we'll be, and whether that's in 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, do you mind if I chime in for a second on that one?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I actually was just looking to see who wrote that. So Robert, I think the only challenge there. So when you say a budget for the project, I want to make sure you walk away with the language. This is not a project. This is a platform. This is an initiative to really get other people on the same page and to start tying together funding pots that already exist in a more meaningful, succinct way. So if you picture us as a guide, potentially, like a guide who can hold your hand and get you through the process, that's a better way to think about us rather than a project. Just because like the budget for NavalX is small. So most programs have a lot of in the Department of Defense have a lot of funding. We are very lean, and our goal is to connect people to other budgets and other pots of funding and other groups. So I just want to make sure we're not seen as some we're not a funding entity. We're a team of people here to help you find what you need to move forward and help our sailors get what they need.
Yep, great point.
Thank you. So roundtables and meetings where companies and academia can all come together and collaborate. Can you talk a little bit about your Seaside Chats and what opportunities there are there for local small businesses to get engaged with that?
Sure. So the Seaside Chats have been going on for, I think the first one was actually just over a year ago, May of 2019, and those continue even in the COVID-19 kind of environment. Our last Seaside Chat was an AI panel where actually Whitney announced an AI challenge. We had experts from across ONR, OPNAV, NRL, the warfare centers. And again, this was then for them to discuss some of their work that's going on. And so we've had both, actually one of the Seaside Chats last year was on with all of various small, like representatives from our small business programs. So that included, and now I cannot remember Jimmy Smith's predecessor.
Emily Harmon.
Emily Harmon, so she was on the panel with Bob Smith, who's our Don Sibber program manager. So we've had panels like that, and those are going to continue. In fact, one of our panels that'll be coming up in July, I won't say what it is, but we're looking to have some, big speakers. But we do change it up. So it is a different topic, all the time. We had one on the culture of excellence and both on diversity and inclusion, and another on resilience during this COVID-19 environment. So we do routinely change up the Seaside Chat, but the point of that is to really bring either experts to the panel to talk about their kinds of requirements and what they're thinking about going ahead, or sometimes it's to bring senior leaders in to talk about a little, and kind of give their perspective. And that's how we've used the Seaside Chat as really sort of, I call it an innovation thought platform too.
Great. So success story, how do you track and maintain metrics? Success stories on how the original inquiry or connection resulted in a solution.
Sure, so the tool is one way we're gonna do that. Right now, I mean, we capture these in sort of vignettes, and I'll just give you, one example where we had a company approach us with a particular technology that captured, or let's say extracted, water from air, which was a strange technology, but we were asked to take a look at it. We first connected them to, for example, some folks in the Marine Corps, meaning if you think about forward operating bases where there's a need for power, water, energy, how do you decrease those demands to make a forward operating base in an expeditionary environment more sustainable? So this was an interesting technology, and it just happened when I started asking the question after I first connected it to the Marine Corps. Didn't really go anywhere, but then I connected them to ONR, and lo and behold, there just happened to be an energy program inside of ONR, and it happened to be a funded program. And then they connected that company. We connected the company out to a warfare center out in San Diego that would then run the tests. So those tests are actually ongoing. So that's just an example of, hey, is this going to be, a usable technology to meet a Marine Corps requirement? We still don't know, but at least right now we're conducting some tests to do that. How we capture that is sort of what I described, which is in sort of these short stories or use cases and examples. In the future, we plan to capture them sort of in our digital tool. The digital tool being that, we can actually see where we made the connection. Could have been in an event, could have been in a phone call or an email, could have been a company entering into the digital tool and then you can see, as I described, this path, leading through, to maybe an end result. I know Whitney's got a whole bunch of examples as well related to, the transition and the connection of, I don't know if you just want to give one other example, Whitney.
I mean, so I was going to say we definitely have examples, but so tracking success for us definitely is challenging because we are supporting other people's programs. We're not supporting just our own. So right now it's been like our last year's kind of 1 or 2 pager showing success was about how many people we connected with. And highlighting some of the trainings we help people get, and talking about events we were holding, and just those touch points, and I know that we do have a lot of success. Like I could say, Tech Bridges helped $45 million get to projects that needed it through companies, through small businesses, and otherwise. I can say those numbers, but they don't. I mean, it includes SBIR dollars, it includes prize challenges, it includes being connected with local and regional efforts. But I would just say we're building the foundation of trust in that network. And like Frank said, it'll be a lot easier when we have a tool to help people track how much progress they can make with the tools we give them. But right now we can say, this many people looked at our playbook, this many people came to our events. But I think the fact that more and more people are getting on board to do things a little bit differently and have been asking about how do you do prize challenges, how to work better with small businesses, those aren't things we necessarily track, but those are really important metrics as well. So I think the stories are important. I think the numbers can be helpful, but really it's just the fact that we're having these opportunities to connect with you that really makes what we do valuable.
Great, thank you, Whitney. The Defense Innovation Unit, formerly known as DIUX, where or how does NavalX fit in with that?
Sure. So, yeah, we are not the same as DIUX. I mean, there are other, I would say, requirements, end users that provide funding to DIUX to then actually go out and obtain the prototype. It's almost like, hey, go obtain the capability and let's see what we can do with it. So DIUX is also very focused on, I think it's now 6 particular areas on their website. And like I mentioned, there's 2 things that they do. One, they receive money from various entities to get things onto an OTA. And what they do, DIUX, which is similar to us, they do a lot of tech scanning. So when they understand in their 6 focus areas how they, what companies have particular capabilities and who they reach out to try to meet a need from an end user. The other thing they do is they now are overseeing a national security innovation capital, like it's a pool of dollars that they intend to use to invest in some big projects. So that's an R&E sort of OSD level entity. NavalX is just a little bit different. We didn't talk about it a lot here. One, because it isn't maybe entirely relevant to what the small businesses do, but part of what NavalX does is focus on our workforce, deliver agility schools. We hold some training courses and things along those lines. So that's quite different than DIUX, probably where we overlap, or at least where we have some common ground. We'll be in the mode of doing some tech scanning and market research through our tech bridges. We'll be engaging with some of this same kind of community, meaning like these ecosystems in emerging technologies, right? There could be some overlap there, but our focus is really entirely on the DON community and providing a platform to sort of reach out to those entities. But we have no contracting capacity. NavalX does not, whereas DIUX does, and that's how they're able to work things and put things on an OTA. If we move where, hey, somebody wants to get something onto a prototype, we'll work through our tech bridge, and it's a warfare center that has that organic capacity to really do that. So that's maybe a little bit different than DIUX. Again, so we are not a contracting entity. We are not a funding entity. DIU does both of those kinds of things.
Great, thank you. So going back to the agility that you talked to earlier that's planned for September, do you have any tentative dates for that?
So I will say for the Agility Summit, we do have tentative dates. It's going to be September 21st through the 25th. The goal for this Agility Summit is actually going to be internal. So sorry, but we really wanted to connect people from different warfare centers and from the Office of Naval Research, different SysComs, and PEOs and other groups to try to have some best practices sharing about better ways to work with industry and to work with each other. So it's going to be fairly internal at this summit this year, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have plenty of other things going on that we'll want to bring you guys into. So I would just say look at our LinkedIn, look at our website. If you send us an email, just ask for what events are going on. That's great. There's a lot of people who are excited to engage at the regional level as well. So I would say work with your local tech bridge, or if there isn't one, work with us. We'll help you get information on events. But yeah, the Agility Summit this year, we're going to do a little bit of a prize challenge sort of thing, but we're going to do it differently where we're giving it to our university students. I don't think a lot of you know that the Navy has the Marine Corps University, the Naval Postgraduate School, the Naval Academy, the War College, and multiple other entities where they do training as well. Sometimes we don't necessarily build in a lot of stuff for them just because we're focused so much on industry. So we said, hey, we'll put you guys first. We'll have a session with you, and then at a later date, and pretty much everything else, we'll be working with industry and academia. So sorry about that one.
And then we do have one last question. Do you foresee in the future establishing additional NavalX tech bridges? And what would those sites be?
Yep. So I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you guys where they are. Unfortunately, our wonderful Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Research, Development, and Acquisition would be very upset if we jump the gun on him, because he loves being the one to announce new teammates. But yes, there will be more, yeah, I don't want to give anything away, but there will definitely be more coming online, and we kind of start those talks pretty early. And we really focus on, again, finding the right teammates, the right representatives. But yeah, sorry, but yes.
Well, thank you for sharing, Whitney. And unless there are any additional questions, it looks like it's about time to wrap up. Do you, either of you have anything you want to wrap up with, or some parting words?
Frank, if you want to go last, I figured you might want to have the closing word. I'll just say, I'm really glad you guys are asking tough questions like, hey, I didn't get a hold of somebody. That's important for us to know. And also, like, how are you working with other entities? And you know, like, are you guys doing open topics? I saw some of those questions. There's usually a reason behind what we do and don't do, but sometimes it's really just because we don't know what's going on. So that's our goal, is to become a good sensor for information out there to make sure we're going in the right direction and partnering well. So as things come up, even if it's just to criticize, something, like, even if it's like a rant you want to give, like, we are here for you for your problems, for your solutions, for your technology, and for your just overall questions. That's what we're for. We're supposed to be the front-facing storefront to help guide you and get you pretty quick feedback. So don't hesitate to reach out. I put my email down there. agility@navy.mil is a really good kind of cure-all address. And again, it's being tracked now, so you will get a response. That's it for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Whitney.
And I'll just add that besides just connecting with us, like, NavalX doesn't have all this solved. We don't have all the answers. We know the Department of the Navy, needs to better connect with these non-traditionals and small businesses, meaning the global innovation ecosystem and where innovation is occurring is very much in a lot of small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups. And we've not had a great history of of being able to connect well. Like, we're very comfortable with our traditional partners and the big defense companies. And so this is really a concerted effort to sort of be better at, I would say, not just, you know, reducing, I would say, the barriers and the complexity and sort of the cumbersome bureaucratic aspects of dealing with the government. You know, those are very difficult for your non-traditionals and small businesses. So we're trying to break down those barriers. But the key point I'm trying to make here is that we are looking for your ideas. Meaning, if you have ideas of how we can do this, or areas that a small business or a non-traditional might be struggling in, we are more than happy to take that in and to work on whatever that problem might be. And one of the, I would say, the missions of NavalX is to continue to experiment and pilot new things. You know, are there new ways? So Tech Bridges is really an experiment for us to better connect with businesses. So if there's other ways to do that, to not just connect, but then to be able to link that up, we are all open in ideas. So this isn't just, hey, give us your information. If you have other ideas that you want to submit to us, we'll be really happy to take that on too.
Great, thank you, sir. So just to wrap up, visit their website to view their Seaside Chats, to also find helpful information on NavalX and the points of contacts there. And then my shameful plug for Navy OSBP. We do have 2 webinars next week. Thank you, Whitney. And thanks for sharing your beach time with us. I'm jealous. I wish I was out there with you. And thank you, Frank, as well. We do have our Gold Coast event, which is planned for August 31st through September 2nd in San Diego, California. That's still on track, as well as our upcoming webinar series. If you have ideas or things that you would like to learn more about that you want us to speak about during our webinars, please feel free to email us at osbp.pao.fct@navy.mil. And thank you again for your time, everyone, to our panelists, to NavalX for joining us and kicking off our webinar series. We are excited to have you. And I'll say parting words, everyone stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.